in 2022 if he still wants out. It remains to be seen if that will actually happen, with previous reports indicating the Packers agreed to trade Rodgers before, only to not follow through. For now, the 37-year-old QB will focus on trying to bring the Lombardi back to Green Bay. All right, LeVar, will the Packers caving to Rodgers help him duplicate his MVP season?
He's going to duplicate or possibly do better than what he did because Aaron Rodgers knows and understands his value when he's playing at a high level. He's not going to let any of this be a distraction to how he plays. It never has really been a distraction to how he plays. So will it help him to duplicate or be an MVP candidate this year? He didn't need this to begin with. Is there more incentive? There certainly is more incentive. In success comes power, and power comes influence, and he has the ability to grasp that and hold that right now. They are caving in. They are making concessions. There's so many different takes on Aaron Rodgers and how this plays out negatively against him. But in reality, in the real world, Aaron Rodgers is really winning, and he's winning big. You know, it's interesting when they use the quote, if he should decide he wants to be traded, if he still wants to be traded. The translation of that is, we don't want to trade him. And you may want to trade him for one reason or another, but as a total whole, you don't want to trade him. Otherwise, he would have been gone by now. Let's be clear here. When you don't want somebody, you can get rid of them. That's what I've always found to be very true, especially in our game of football. They don't want you, you are gone. You can believe that. The fact that this drama continues to build and continues to be a storyline, all it is doing is feeding the beast that Aaron Rodgers created in his lab. It's going to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger. You have the spotlight on him because, oh, does he want to get traded? Does he want to stay? What is the concerns about what happens if he does stay? What's the concerns of the front office? Does somebody have to get fired? All of these questions, all they're doing is what guys like Russell Wilson want, and other guys out there that haven't maybe gotten the respect or the notoriety that they're looking for. Aaron Rodgers has turned himself into a main storyline. The way you get MVP votes, you play well while people are paying attention. So this story, this drama that's playing out, only serves as a narrative, as a platform to be able to drive the agenda of what Aaron Rodgers has, which is to have in my opinion, to have a super solid year. Such a solid year where when he says to the front office, these are the things I need to remain a Green Bay Packer, they will have already been in position where they have to do it, and then you have to announce it, and then that's what it's going to be. I do not believe they are brave or bold enough to actually execute getting rid of Aaron Rodgers on their terms. It will not happen. So to me, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is playing tight at all. He has a fully loaded deck to play as loose and as Aaron Rodgers-like as he'd like. So sure, it's going to be a duplicate year or a better year than even what it was last season.
Yeah, I think, look, he was motivated anyway. He wants to win another Super Bowl. You know, I'm sure he wants to win another MVP if he can. And we saw last year, he used his anger about the Jordan Love draft to go out there and play tremendously. So if he wants to be traded, let's say right now, in his mind, his intention is, this is it, the last dance, like the photo of Jordan and Pippen that he put up on his Instagram. I want to be out of here after this season. Then I do think that's just extra motivation to go out and play well. I don't think there would be a letdown. Because Aaron Rodgers knows if I want to go out here and move on to another team, I need to look good. I'm 38, will be 38 years old in shortly, in December, I believe. I need to look good to have other teams want me. I get it. Even if he looks bad or doesn't have his typical Aaron Rodgers year, teams will still want him. But Aaron Rodgers isn't looking to just move on for 1 year. If he moves on, he's going to want a long-term contract at an advanced age. So he's going to have teams be like, oh, he still got it. Yeah, he's 38. He's closing in on 40, but he still got it, and we're not afraid to sign him up for the next 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, he's got every motivation in the world to go out and ball. And if they don't, then people are going to look at him. I get how great Aaron Rodgers is. We all know that he's one of the best to ever throw the football. But we also know he hasn't been to a Super Bowl in a decade. We also know that he's 1-4 in NFC title games. And we also know that his numbers, his performance in those NFC title games is almost the complete opposite of what he does in the regular season. Oof. Like, he never throws interceptions in the regular season. He throws a lot of them in the title games. So Aaron's got the receivers. He's got the offensive line. He's got the running backs. He's got a good defense. He's got a good coach. The late field goal call against Tampa Bay notwithstanding. He's got everything to make another strong run at the Super Bowl. And if they don't, if they're somehow 11-6, 10-7, and get beat in the first round of the playoffs, then people aren't just going to look at the Packers. They're going to look at Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, boy. All right. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and let you slander Aaron Rodgers. He's not the reason they lost the NFC title game to the Seattle Seahawks, okay? Because he didn't botch recovering the onside kick, okay? That was the defense, and the special teams ruined that game. He didn't go to Atlanta and give up like 75 points to the Falcons offense a few years ago. And I don't think you can blame Aaron Rodgers for last year's game against the Bucs. But all that being said, there will be regression coming to the Packers. 13-3 the last 2 years. Look at the schedule, folks. NFL high 10 games this year against teams that made the playoffs last year. The schedule is brutal, by some metrics, toughest in the league. But I think the bigger picture, when you zoom out on Aaron Rodgers, this kind of feels like, and LeVar, we touched on this last week on another show here at FS1, it feels sort of like a divorce that might happen. Hey, listen, I'm going to give you a little bit to clean up your act. Otherwise, we're going to be headed to a divorce in a year. Are you going to change? Are you going to change your ways? Because remember, the things that got you here aren't going to get you where you're going, okay? In life, that totally rings true. And with the Packers, what got them here is, 25 straight years of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And saying no to free agency and just building through the draft, they have to change their ways. They're operating an old school mentality, and that's just not going to work. This idea that, hey, we can just move on from Aaron Rodgers and we can bring in Jordan Love. Like, you guys are going to have a rude awakening in Green Bay if that's the mentality. They have to change. Because, again, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, 25 years, 2 Super Bowls. That's it. I don't think you can blame Favre and you can't blame Rodgers. But you can blame the Packers. They're the one constant. They've been operating the same way for over 2 decades, and they've got to change and adapt and get with the times. I'm just telling you guys, as a Jets fan, I know what it's like to not have a franchise quarterback. Go ask the Miami Dolphins, too, what it's like when you lose Dan Marino. How many playoff wins do they have in the last 2 decades? This idea that you could just move on from Aaron Rodgers and, we'll just bring in the next guy. It's going to work. It's worked for 25 years. No. That's just not reality. And, LeVar, the Packers need to capitulate. Yes, I said capitulate. Hello, Aaron. What can I get you? Would you like a receiver? Would you like an offensive lineman? How can we help you? We want you to end your career here with the Packers. That's what needs to happen.
And listen, we've seen that play out. I mean, we've seen it play out by them moving up in the draft and using a pick that could have clearly made their team a better team on what seemed to be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. Now, what happens from there, you ultimately get an idea of where Aaron Rodgers is coming from, because in those comments that you made, personnel-wise, they actually could use another receiver. Personnel-wise, Bakhtiari isn't healthy. We don't know how well he's going to play. It could be his best offensive lineman. They are a little thin on their offensive front, actually. And so, to me, if you're coming at Aaron Rodgers in a way right now where you're saying, listen, if you still want to go, at the end of this season, we will make it so that we can trade you. Now, verbal agreement, that's fine, whatever. I don't trust it. Like we said, it's been out there before. But the thing that I find to be most peculiar that we're going to have to pay very close attention to is, how does Jordan Love play during the course of this preseason? How is he going to handle himself? And will we hear any responses from Aaron Rodgers? We got the strategic addressing of the union when he first came in. But will he continue to have responses to everything that comes out that's being reported about him? Those two things will be very important for the simple fact that Aaron Rodgers will either show us that he really wants to be in Green Bay by what he's saying and what he's doing versus wanting to get out, and we'll know if Green Bay actually has a